Network's not-for-profit spotlight. Today, I'm very blessed and honored to be here with Mr. Randy Davis.
Yes, sir.
From A Better Life, Brianna's Hope. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We appreciate your drive down here to give us this opportunity.
So we are in Portland, Indiana.
You got it.
Right, which for those who don't know where that is, about 45 minutes south of Fort Wayne.
That's about right.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful drive from the port this morning.
Yeah,
so,
great.
So Randy, tell me a little bit about A Better Life, Brianna's Hope.
A Better Life, Brianna's Hope. We consider ourselves a participant-driven, faith-based, compassion-filled support and recovery movement for those battling the battle with substance use disorder / addiction. And we started back in June of 2014, so you know we're moving right along here. Yeah. Our first actual meeting, and we have several chapters that have a meeting each week, a support and recovery meeting. Those began November 5 of 2016.
Okay.
So when that date rolls around this year, we're going to be 9 years old as far as being truly active. But we came about as a result of a tragic loss due to addiction here in Jay County. Yeah. It was one of those things to where you could no longer say our community, our county doesn't have a problem.
Right.
The young lady's name was Brianna DeBaptiste. She was then 25 years old. She was a graduate of Jay County High School. She'd been a homecoming queen candidate. She had been a good student. She had a lot going for her.
Right.
But she began her battle with addiction in the 7th grade is where she started using.
Wow.
By the time she was a senior in high school, there wasn't anything she hadn't tried. And at the age of 25, she was a full-blown heroin addict. On June 16 of 2014, she was reported as missing. There were no clues as to where was she going to survive this or what was going to happen. No one had any idea about that. It was 10 weeks later on September 1st, Labor Day of that year, that her body was found laying atop the ground in an abandoned, non-used cemetery. She was covered over with brush. Her body had been taken out there, and truly it was treated like a piece of trash.
Yeah.
Discarded, forgotten, no report to anyone. A couple of hunters stumbled across a smell that they knew wasn't right and made reports. Thus, it ensued from there. I am a retired pastor, 35 years, and when Brianna was first reported as missing, I contacted the family to see if I could walk alongside and be a support. Her aunt just lived across the field from me. My wife knew her grandparents very well, so it was an easy door to walk through, and they welcomed that, which I greatly appreciate. But it changed my life. They were no longer the they or them people.
Right.
I got involved, started loving who they were, even what they were about. Beyond that addiction, please understand, addiction isn't a choice.
No.
It's a disease. A choice may kick it off, but the way it grabs you, nobody has ever said, I want to be an addict when I grow up, and God, look at me, I've accomplished it. So we've been there with a lot of people. We have now sent over 1,900 people to treatment.
That's amazing.
And when I say we've sent them, we've been involved with resourcing, been involved financially. We've seen a lot of people come out on the other side far better. Living that hope of Brianna's that she had. And so through all of that, we've learned a great deal, been highly involved in the community, watched a lot of things happen. We've lost a lot of people too. I'd rather leave that out, but let's tell the whole story.
Well, you
And
had said earlier that one of the things you pride yourself on is being honest and raw with the delivery.
you know, when we have folks in our chapter meetings, that's what we invite.
Yeah.
We now have a podcast called Faith in Your Recovery.
Tell me a little bit about this. You were saying
Yeah.
that earlier. So you have a podcast comes out every Wednesday, is that right?
Well, I actually do the podcast on a Wednesday, comes
Okay.
out Friday mornings
Gotcha.
at 6 a.m.
Okay.
It's called Faith in Your Recovery on all major podcast platforms. We really push the Spotify
Yeah.
just because it works well for us.
Sure.
And
You got almost 90 of those, correct?
yes, I think it's actually 84 or 86
Yeah.
that we've done. So October will be 2 years of our podcast weekly. And as a result of that, we've been able to take some of those most popular podcasts and turn them into a book.
Yeah, you were showing me this earlier.
Yeah, the book, Recovery Conversations with Randy Davis. It's a collection, as I said, of the podcasts of those people's story put into writing. A lot
I
of
was glancing through this, and it's just a transcript,
exactly.
basically, of the conversations that you've had with different people and how addiction has affected them. You were just kind of highlighting a couple there. There's some recovering addicts. There's children of addicts. There's spouses of addicts.
We pride ourselves with the podcast and with our book
Yeah.
using the term all things recovery.
Yeah.
Because someone doesn't go into addiction and battle it without the whole family having to battle for them.
I've seen some of that in my own life too.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you were telling me earlier, and you have this nice little prompt here, that you guys have 39 chapters in Indiana.
Yes.
4 chapters in Ohio, a chapter in Virginia, and a chapter in South Carolina. You serve 27 counties total. You talked about the 1,900 treatments, and this is what I thought was pretty awesome, 24,000 students.
Yeah, we've spoken to over 24,000 students, grades K to 12.
That's amazing.
And we will go into the school, and depending on the length of time they give us, and is it a full-blown convocation, or do we go into the classroom, we'll take 3 or 4 speakers who have been there, done that, have the scars to prove it.
Yeah.
Each one will take 10 minutes, 12 at the most, to tell their story. And undoubtedly, when we're done, there are children, students coming up talking to them because either they or someone they know is struggling, or they're having a struggle at home because of mom and dad's issues.
Yeah, these are big issues.
It's highly generational.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
So if people, listen, I think what you're doing is just amazing, really. And I was telling you earlier that when I come to film these, I generally don't know a lot about Brianna, who works with me, sets them up, and I'm really just taken aback by what you guys are doing. It's pretty amazing, really, and a good. It's interesting the way sometimes that God works to be able to make such a beautiful thing happen out of such a tragedy.
Yeah.
And so, if people wanted to find out more, where would be a good spot to go? A website?
Website, absolutely, and it's pretty simple. It's actually the initials of our full title, A Better Life, Brianna's Hope.
Okay.
It's ABLBH.org.
Okay.
So that has all kinds of information, videos, resources, ways to contact us should you want a chapter in your area. We'd be glad to come and see you and talk to you about that. Our podcast, you can reach us at podcast@ablbh.org.
Yep.
And our book website's going to be Recovery Conversations.
Okay.
.org.
Okay. Awesome.
And so it's
that book should be released soon, correct? Because
hopefully within a week, 10
Okay.
days, we'll have it out there on the market,
awesome.
ready to roll. We're excited about that.
yeah, I bet. If people wanted to help, right? You mentioned starting a chapter, and you had mentioned. I'm sure that just listening to the podcast is helpful as well. But what are some other ways that people can help?
We're always up for volunteers. We Our most recent chapters are in the Jay County Jail.
Oh, okay.
And that's been pretty exciting. I go each Thursday at 1 o'clock, meet with the male inmates. Candy, one of our office secretaries, goes at 2 and meets with female inmates.
Okay.
We'd like to help you make that happen in your community even.
Okay.
But get a hold of us. Let's talk and we'll give you some of those guidelines
Okay.
and ways to get that done. But our chapters, we pride ourselves that most every chapter serves a meal before the meeting.
Oh, okay.
And so that's important
Yes.
to us. So you can always volunteer and get involved that way. If you've got a history of addiction or a loved one has, get a hold of us. We'd love to hear your story and bring you in as a guest to one of our chapters.
Okay.
So we're very open.
Yeah.
We want to keep this broad, but just the idea, we want to be there to help, to encourage, and to lift people up. You made a comment, if I can go
Yeah,
back
sure.
to it a moment ago, how some of this, you know, what's come out of the ashes of the tragedy,
Yeah.
so to speak. Genesis 50 verse 20 says that what you intended for evil, I'm going to use for good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use it to save people's lives.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What the drug intended for Brianna, we're trying to turn that around and
Yeah.
make it a positive thing.
Yeah.
No way is using positive, but positive can come from it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for what you do. The passion, you're just oozing it. So it's great, and I'm glad I met you.
Well,
I just
thank you.
Look forward
Appreciate
to,
it.
following you more. And
God
listening to the
bless.
podcast. You too.
All
Thanks
right.
everybody for watching.